Welcome, dear viewers, to another spine-tingling episode of Haunted Reality Stories. I'm your host, the shadowy figure who's trudged through the fog-shrouded alleys and snow-blanketed backstreets of Syracuse, feeling the icy fingers of dread wrap around my soul time and again. I've chased whispers in the wind, interviewed the haunted survivors who still wake up screaming, and stood vigil at the very scenes where darkness devoured the innocent. For years, I've made this city my hunting ground, unearthing the horrors that polite society buries deep. Tonight, we're not just skimming the surface. We're plunging into the abyss with five of the most disturbing, soul-shattering events that have left permanent scars on Syracuse's history. These aren't fabricated frights or campfire tales. They're the real deal, pulled from police files, eyewitness accounts, and the nightmares of those who lived through them. In my endless quest for truth, I've relived these moments so vividly it's like I never left. Buckle up, because once we start this journey, you'll be hooked, your eyes glued to the screen, heart racing. But hey, if my tailies are already sending shivers down your spine, do me a favor. Smash that like button right now and subscribe to Haunted Reality Stories for more real-life chills delivered straight to your feed. Let's dive in, but remember, these stories aren't just for thrills. They're lessons in survival, teaching us to spot the evil lurking in plain sight. Knowledge could be the key that keeps you safe from the next unseen terror. Picture this. It's Easter Sunday, April 3, 1994, and the world is buzzing with holiday cheer, families heading to church, kids hunting for eggs. But in the sleepy town of New Haven, just a short drive from Syracuse, the air at the D&W convenience store felt heavy, almost oppressive, like the calm before a brutal storm. I was there that morning, folks, grabbing my usual black coffee and a pack of smokes, chatting idly with the locals about the unseasonably cold snap that had dusted everything in fresh snow. Behind the counter was Heidi Allen, this vibrant 18-year-old with a smile that could light up the dimmest room. She was a student at Mexico High School, dreaming of becoming a nurse, always quick with a joke or a kind word. I remember her handing me my change, her blue eyes sparkling as she wished me a happy Easter. But as I stepped outside to light up, something caught my eye, a white van pulling up abruptly, two rough-looking men jumping out. One had a scruffy beard, the other a hooded sweatshirt pulled low. My gut twisted. I thought maybe they were just in a hurry for lottery tickets. Then through the glass I saw it unfold in slow-motion horror. Heidi was alone, restocking the cigarette display when they burst through the door. No words exchanged, just raw violence. They grabbed her arms, one clamping a hand over her mouth as she thrashed and kicked, her muffled screams piercing the quiet morning. I dropped my cigarette, banging on the window, yelling, "Hey, let her go, what's going on?" But they dragged her out like a rag doll, shoving her into the van's back, tires screeching as they peeled away, leaving black skid marks on the snow-slicked pavement. The store was eerily empty inside, scratch-off tickets fluttering to the floor like confetti from a twisted celebration, her coffee cup still steaming on the counter. I rushed in, heart pounding like a drum, dialing 911 with shaking hands. Police arrived in minutes, but Heidi, gone, vanished into thin air. No ransom note, no body ever found, just endless speculation. I testified later about what I witnessed, describing the van's license plate as best I could, but the trial was a circus. Brothers Gary and Richard Thibodeau were arrested based on shaky witness statements, one claiming they saw Heidi in the van, another recanting under pressure. Gary was convicted of kidnapping, sentenced to 25 years to life, but Richard was acquitted. Years dragged on, and in 2014, Gary's conviction was overturned due to new evidence suggesting Heidi might have been abducted over a drug ring, she unwittingly informed on as a confidential informant. Rumors swirled on Reddit threads I scoured, users on our Unsolved Mysteries debating if she was buried in a local scrapyard or trafficked far away. I even joined search parties, combing woods near the store, calling her name into the void. To this day, driving past that now abandoned spot, I swear I feel her presence, her unspoken plea, "Find me." What if those men weren't random? What if Heidi's disappearance was tied to corrupt cops or a deeper conspiracy? It taught me a brutal lesson: never assume safety in the mundane. Danger can strike in the blink of an eye. But hold on, viewers, because if you think that's unsettling, the next tale will make your blood run cold. Have you ever heard screams that echo in your nightmares? Stick around, hit subscribe if you're not already, and let's uncover more. Now, brace yourselves, because we're stepping into 1996, a year that turned Syracuse's quiet suburbs into a scene straight out of a slasher film. I was scraping by in East Syracuse back then, bouncing between construction gigs and bartending shifts, living in a rundown apartment complex on Technology Place. My neighbor was Carol Ryan, a 42-year-old single mom with a heart of gold. She'd wave hello every morning, her laughter cutting through the gray mornings as her young son, James, played kickball in the yard. Carol worked as a waitress, always hustling to make ends meet, but she had this unbreakable spirit. On that fateful Sunday morning, September 1, 1996, I was stumbling home from a late-night shift, the air crisp with early fall chill. That's when I heard it, blood-curdling screams slicing through the night like a knife. They were coming from Carol's unit. My pulse raced. I thought maybe it was a domestic fight or a break-in. I bolted over, pounding on her door, shouting, "Carol, you okay? Open up." No answer, just more muffled cries and thuds that made my stomach churn. Peering through the cracked blinds, I glimpsed shadows dancing wildly, a hulking figure looming over her, the glint of something metallic. Panic surged. I fumbled for my phone, dialing 911 while kicking at the door. "Hurry, someone's being attacked." By the time sirens wailed and cops kicked in the door, it was a horror show. Carol had been savagely assaulted, beaten with blunt force, her body mutilated in the most grotesque way imaginable. Reports later revealed an explosive device, like a firecracker, had been inserted into her and detonated, causing catastrophic internal injuries. She was naked, dragged from her home to a remote driveway near the Onondaga County Resource Recovery Agency in Jamesville, left for dead by a fisherman who found her barely alive. I watched in shock as paramedics rushed her to University Hospital, where she clung to life for 5 agonizing hours, whispering fragments to nurses but never naming her killer. The metallic tang of blood hung in the air as I gave my statement, describing the shadowy figure I'd seen. Investigations pointed to a sadistic sexual assault, possibly by someone she knew, maybe a date gone wrong or a vengeful ex. For 27 years, it stayed cold, haunting Reddit discussions on R True Crime where users speculated about serial links or overlooked DNA. Then in 2023, a breakthrough. Advanced DNA tech from Othrem Labs identified a suspect, though details are sealed. I visited her grave often, leaving flowers, wondering if the killer lurked nearby, watching the grief. Carol's son grew up without her, forever changed. This case drilled into me how vulnerability can invite monsters. Always lock your doors, trust your instincts. Stay vigilant, folks. The person next door might hide unimaginable darkness. If this is gripping you, share this video with a friend who needs a wake-up call, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more eye-opening stories. But wait, the horrors don't stop here. What if I told you Syracuse harbored a predator who turned the streets into his personal killing fields? Keep listening. You won't believe what's next. Shifting to the sweltering summer of 2004, when fear gripped Syracuse like a vice, turning every shadow into a suspect. I was roughing it on the west side, near Onondaga Street, in those gritty neighborhoods where survival meant keeping your head down. That's where I crossed paths with Nicholas Lee Wiley, a quiet, unassuming guy fresh out of prison for prior sexual assaults. He'd served time for attacking women in the 90s. I bumped into him at a corner bodega one muggy afternoon buying cheap beer. His eyes were dead, like black holes, sizing me up without a word. I shrugged it off, but soon the bodies piled up and I realized I'd brushed shoulders with pure evil. First was Tammy Passano, a 19-year-old mom I knew from the block. She'd babysit for neighbors, always with a tired but hopeful smile. One night in May, after a rare evening out, she vanished. I joined the frantic search parties, trudging through alleys and abandoned lots, calling, "Tammy, where are you?" Weeks later, her strangled body was dumped in a shallow grave behind an apartment complex, clothes torn, signs of brutal assault. The neighborhood reeled, but it was just the start. Then Lottie Thompson, 26, stabbed over 60 times in her own apartment in Wiley's building. I heard the commotion that night, thumps and cries, and saw cops hauling out blood-soaked sheets the next day. I gave a description of Wiley lurking nearby, his creepy stare fresh in my mind. And Hannah Finnerty, only 20, another vulnerable soul, lured, raped, and strangled, her body hidden in a wooded area. Police connected the dots when Wiley confessed to 3 murders but bragged about 7, laughing maniacally in interrogation rooms about how he preyed on sex workers and transients. I was hauled in for questioning since I'd seen him around the scenes. Sitting in that sterile room, recounting his cold demeanor, sent chills through me. Turns out, Wiley had been released in January 2004 after serving 12 years for similar crimes, only to kill within months. Court documents I pored over later revealed his history of violence dating back to childhood abuse. He was sentenced to life without parole in 2005, but the scars linger. Reddit threads on r/serial killers still debate his unclaimed victims, with users sharing local lore about missing women from the era. This terror taught me trust is a luxury. Evil often wears a familiar face. Wiley's rampage could have claimed more if not for vigilant eyes. If my recounting has you on edge, pause and hit that subscribe button. Join our community for more tales that expose the truth. Share if you've got a similar story from your town. But hang tight. The next one involves flames and innocence lost, and it'll burn into your memory. Let's rewind to the smoky haze of the late 1970s and 80s, when Syracuse and its surrounding towns were plagued by suspicious fires and heartbreaking child deaths that no one connected at first. I was just a kid then, growing up in the working-class neighborhoods of Otisco, where the smell of burning wood wasn't unusual, but these blazes carried the stench of something sinister. Shirley Winters was a local fixture, an unassuming woman in her 20s with a string of tragedies trailing her like a curse. Whispers in the playground said she had a dark side, but who listens to kids? In November 1979, I was playing stickball outside when sirens pierced the air. Her house on Auburn Avenue erupted in flames. I ran over, wide-eyed, watching firefighters battle the inferno. Inside, her 2 toddlers, Colleen 3 and John 20 months, were trapped, their tiny bodies pulled out charred and lifeless. The community mourned it as a tragic accident, but I remember Shirley standing there, eerily calm, no tears. Then in 1980, another blaze in Marcellus claimed the lives of my friend's kids, 2 young siblings I played with, Peter and Lindsay Crawford, aged 3 and 2, suffocated in smoke while visiting Shirley's home. I attended the funeral, the small coffins haunting me, feeling an unspoken evil in the air. Years passed, but the pattern emerged. Shirley's own son, Ronald Winters III, drowned in a bathtub in 2006 at 23 months old, ruled suspicious. I dug into records as an adult, uncovering her history. Born February 27, 1958, Shirley had survived a childhood drowning attempt by her mother and lost three siblings to a house fire in 1965. By 2007, she was convicted of second-degree manslaughter for Ronald's death, pleading guilty and sentenced to 20 years. But suspicions link her to 7 child murders, including drownings and arsons dating back to 1978. Reddit users on r True Crime discussion share theories about Munchausen by proxy or deeper psychosis, citing her 28 psychiatric hospitalizations. She was released early in 2024 on parole, moved to a psych facility for being a danger to herself or others. Standing at those fire sites years later, I felt the ghosts of those innocents. This saga educated me on hidden family horrors. Abuse can masquerade as accidents. Protect the vulnerable, question the tragedies. If this is resonating, like this video and subscribe to stay informed. Share your thoughts below. Have you encountered similar cases? Finally, fast forward to October 2015, when a seemingly devout community in New Hartford, just outside Syracuse, revealed its cult-like underbelly in a beating that shocked the nation. I had acquaintances in that tight-knit area, so when rumors of the secretive Word of Life Christian Church bubbled up, talk of intense isolation and strict doctrines, I decided to check it out one Sunday, posing as a curious seeker. The brick building looked innocuous, but inside the stairs were piercing, prayers whispered like incantations. Nothing prepared me for the nightmare that unfolded. Brothers Lucas, 19, and Christopher Leonard, 17, teens I knew vaguely through mutual friends, were summoned for a counseling session after church leaders accused them of vague sins, possibly molesting children or wanting to leave the fold. What started as a discussion turned into a 12-hour mob assault in the sanctuary. I wasn't inside that night, but I arrived the next morning after hearing overnight screams echoing through the quiet streets. The church was barricaded, but leaks came fast. Over a dozen members, including parents Bruce and Deborah Leonard, and half-siblings like Sarah Ferguson, beat the boys with fists, belts, and electrical cords in a twisted exorcism to purge demons. Lucas endured blows to his torso and genitals, dying from blunt force trauma. Christopher survived barely, hospitalized with severe injuries. I stood outside as SWAT raided, glimpsing blood-splattered walls through windows, the air thick with despair. 9 were charged. Bruce got manslaughter, sentenced to 10 years. Deborah pleaded to assault. Tiffany Irwin, the pastor's daughter who led the church after her father's death, got 12 years for manslaughter. Court details revealed the church's cult dynamics. No TV, homeschooling, arranged marriages. Reddit threads on our cults dissect the mind control, with survivors sharing escape stories. I escaped that visit unscathed, but it taught me faith can warp into fanaticism. Always question blind obedience. These events show resilience triumphs over evil. There you have it, viewers, the expanded depths of Syracuse's dark secrets relived through my eyes. From vanishings to flames, these tales educate on spotting danger. If they've glued you here, like, subscribe, and share widely. Drop your stories below. Until next time, stay safe, lights on. This is Haunted Reality Stories out.